Welcome back to the TMDSAS podcast, where we'll explore the TMDSAS application in greater detail by connecting you, the applicant, with the admissions experts who are ready to help. I'm your host, Enrique Paso, Coordinator of Research, Advising Services, and Digital Media at the Texas Health Education Service in the TMDSAS office in Austin, Texas. Joining us today is Dr. Manuel Schydlower from the Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center at El Paso, the Paul Foster School of Medicine. Dr. Schydlower is the Associate Dean of Admissions and Professor of Pediatrics. Dr. Schydlower, thank you very much for joining us today.
Oh, it's a real pleasure to join you and be able to have this conversation.
We are very honored that you would be able to accommodate your time. We know that El Paso is in mountain time, so we had to maneuver our schedules a little bit. So thank you very much for joining us. We're going to go ahead and get started with some of the questions that we have been asking several of your peers across the state. This will help a lot of the applicants with learning a little bit more about Paulo Foster and also about the people behind the decisions that are made, both in admissions and as the institution. So first off, Dr. Schydlower, could you please tell us a little bit about your academic background?
With pleasure. Well, as you mentioned earlier, Enrique, I am a pediatrician. After I received my medical degree from the University of New Mexico School of Medicine in Albuquerque, I went on to California to do my pediatric training, and I did it at University of California Irvine affiliated hospitals, Memorial Hospital in Long Beach, Orange County Medical Center, Children's Hospital of Orange, and that was followed by a fellowship in adolescent medicine that I completed at Los Angeles Children's Hospital. After that, I had the honor of serving in the United States Army, and I was assigned to Tripler Army Medical Center in Honolulu, and subsequent to that, I was assigned to William Bowman Army Medical Center here in El Paso. And my career in the Army was in academic medicine, and that was the foundation for what followed after my retirement from the Army. While at Triple Army Medical Center and at William Bowman Army Medical Center, I had the pleasure of taking care of patients, but also teaching and doing some research. During my military career, I was the director of an adolescent medicine fellowship at William Bowman Army Medical Center, and also there at Beaumont, I was the director of a combined medicine pediatrics residency program, and I finished my career in the Army as chief of the Department of Clinical Investigation at Beaumont. So that was the academic background that preceded my joining Texas Tech.
Right. And you joined Texas Tech right when it opened. Is that correct?
Well, actually, I joined Texas Tech before the Paul Foster School of Medicine was established. Following my retirement from the military, I had some job opportunities at various places, and we decided to stay in El Paso, and I had the opportunity to join Texas Tech, which at that time was a regional campus of the Texas Tech University Health Science Center, based primarily in Lubbock, but we had a regional campus here in El Paso. And during that time, before the Paul Foster School of Medicine was created, I was the Assistant Dean for Medical Education, and I had responsibility for student affairs, principally taking care of the medical students that were assigned to El Paso from Lubbock to do the third and fourth year here with us. And I also was the assistant dean for graduate medical education, overseeing residency training programs, and at that time I also directed a transitional year residency program.
That's some really wonderful experience, and I really, on behalf of everyone, I'd like to appreciate you for your service, and we're very glad to have you on board and part of medical admissions in the state of Texas. I think your journey is really going to resonate with a lot of our applicants, especially our veteran applicants who are making their way into academia and working their way to becoming a doctor or even a dentist or a veterinarian. I believe your journey so far is really going to resonate with them.
Well, thank you for mentioning that, and it's been a real honor for me to have served our country in the military, and a continuing honor for me to now being an admissions dean for Texas Tech University Health Science Center here in El Paso, and for the Paul Foster School of Medicine. A real privilege to participate in the Texas Medical Dental School Application Service.
Thank you very much for that. All right. Well, you've briefly started touching on some of the points that we wanted to ask in the next question about your experience in admissions and student affairs. But could you tell us a little bit about how you got started with admissions and student affairs?
Well, while I was the assistant dean for medical education, some extraordinary things happened here in El Paso, and that was the recognition that it was time to have a medical school here in El Paso, and it was a real pleasure, an opportunity to participate in the planning of the new medical school that got established here in El Paso. And at that time, there was a lot of planning involving, well, how do we do a new medical school? And obviously we had to take care of many different things, including, having a building and developing a school and a curriculum. And a very important part of that was to have an admissions portal, which I had the opportunity to, I was assigned or selected to be responsible for admissions, and that's how that happened. And one of the things I must say is that all members in the Texas Medical Dental School Application Service at that time were very helpful in providing us with background and support in the form of recommendations as to how to proceed. And that's how we got started with admissions in 2009.
And I think that point is very, very important on why we're able to do so many great things in Texas, is because the schools talk to each other, and we are all colleagues in providing assistance to students, and also with connecting and being engaged with how other schools are taking on challenges. And that's really something that's somewhat unheard of at a national point. But in Texas, we do have that ability because of the shared system of TMDSAS.
Absolutely, and that's a very important point to recognize, is that there's a very strong collaborative association between all the state medical schools in Texas, and I think ultimately that results in benefit to the applicants and to the future medical students in Texas and to the future doctors for Texas.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for sharing your journey. We'd like to get a little acquainted with your school. Obviously, it's not the new kid on the block anymore, but Paulo Foster is still a relatively new school. So would you mind telling us a little bit about the curriculum there?
Sure, with pleasure. Well, as you mentioned, we're no longer the new kid on the block, but we're still a relatively new school. And one of the things that I think distinguishes us is our curriculum. It's certainly a cutting-edge curriculum, and as a newer school, we had the privilege to plan it and look at other models, and we came up with this one. And in essence, here's the summary of our curriculum. For the first 2 years, we teach the basic sciences with relevance to taking care of patients. And we do so utilizing case presentations in the various organ system blocks. Now, when our students get to the third and fourth year, the clinical science years, there are some very extraordinary experiences that they have here, and that really has to do with our geography. Our students have extraordinary experiences in learning how to take care of patients in situations and conditions that involve not only traditional medicine, but also binational medicine, bicultural medicine, border health medicine, and that has to do with our geography, as I said, and I think this is a very important feature of our school and our curriculum. Again, it's a very strongly oriented curriculum toward developing clinical skills and to applying those in the best interest of patients.
Right. And that when speaking about binational and bicultural region, the El Paso, Juarez, Las Cruces region has how many people live in there?
Well, El Paso has currently about 750, close to 800,000 people, wow. And right across the Rio Grande, our neighbors in Juarez, that's a population of close to 1.2, 1.3 million people. So this whole area has a population of approximately 2 million people, separated by a river, but contiguous to one another.
Right, and then that region is it's about half of what the size of Houston would be, so that's quite a huge area.
It is, and I think another feature about our school here has to do, again, I'm going back to the geography,
right? And
El Paso turns out to be one of the safest cities in the United States, a city of its size. And also a city that has some wonderful people living here. I think one of the attractions to our school and to our area is not only the safety that we have in the city of El Paso, but also the genuine, welcoming and friendly nature of the population in our area.
Definitely. I myself grew up there, and I was born and raised in El Paso. I can fully attest to that.
Well, Enrique, we'd love to have you back.
I love coming back. The food's great.
I know that.
Well, coming back a little bit to your journey and the establishment of the Paulo Foster School of Medicine, could you tell us why you decided to pursue a career there?
Well, again, I had the good fortune of not choosing to come to El Paso. I mean, I was ordered to come here by the Army.
Right.
And that's how I came to El Paso. That's how a lot of people, and interestingly, there are many doctors in El Paso who came to our area, first assigned to William Bowman Army Medical Center, as I did. So once I got here, my wife and I recognized this was just a wonderful place to live. We raised our children here. They went to school here, high school, and then went on other places. And one of my children returned to El Paso and is a very successful in his own profession. My second. My youngest son is also very successful in his profession here in El Paso, and they're both raising their families here. I do have a daughter who went to school here and went to high school, but then she went to medical school. I think she went to medical school in Texas Tech in Lubbock, and now she's a practicing pediatrician in Central Texas. So. But anyway, everybody's in Texas, and we're connected and visit each other. But back again to your question, Enrique. After I retired from the military, there were a lot of opportunities. There were opportunities to go elsewhere and good job offers, but we were just enchanted with El Paso, and there was an opportunity to join Texas Tech. And become part of the faculty here in El Paso. That involves staying in El Paso, and so we love it here, and that's how that happened, where we continued our residency here in this wonderful community, and I went on ahead with another phase of my professional career here in El Paso.
Yeah, once you get those roots set up in El Paso, they're there.
That is so true. A lot of people come here and don't know the wonders about our area. And once they get here, many people just love it and stay.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that really speaks to a lot of students specifically that I've dealt with. They're not quite sure what to expect out of El Paso, and they end up going to medical school there. They absolutely love the region. And I tell them all the time, you give it a good shot, give it a chance. You'd be amazed what you'd find.
Absolutely, it's a wonderful place to live, a wonderful place to go to medical school, and for people that are interested in the outdoors, you have so many opportunities here to involve yourself in interactions with nature, and there are many activities that relate to that because of the wonderful weather that we have most of the year.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's really wonderful. You almost got me sold on going back to El Paso just in this conversation. All right. Well, coming back to the application,
sure.
we have several applicants that are filling out the TMDSAS application. At the time that we'll release this episode, we actually will have several applicants waiting to hear back from submitting their applications. So for those that are applying in maybe next year or later on in the season, can you tell us what kind of activities, courses, experiences help a student stand out if they really want to go to the Foster School of Medicine?
Sure. Well, I think that what stands out for us is an individual that has strong academics, but also who is motivated and committed to the health profession. And there are so many ways to express that in the primary TMDSAS application, as well as in our secondary Paul L. Foster School of Medicine application. So I think it's a composite of everything that we're interested in. Again, we're interested in people's minds, but also in their heart. And we do a holistic admissions process. But again, we are very focused on identifying applicants who have strong academics and a commitment to the profession, and if they are oriented to, in sometime in the future, becoming part of the medical community here in El Paso, that would be wonderful. And there's also opportunity to look at different aspects of what is sought not only for our school, but what's sought for all medical schools. There was a time when people applied, some time ago, in fact now many years ago, when people applied to medical school, and it was the MCAT times the GPA times a predetermined factor. And sometimes if somebody got the number, that was enough to be invited for an interview. But I don't think that happens in any school anymore. And everyone is really interested not only in the numbers, but also in the humanity of the applicant.
Yes.
That said, the numbers are heavy weights, so I think all applicants should strive to achieve the very best they can in achieving the highest possible scores as far as the GPA, science GPA in particular, and also the MCAT.
Absolutely, and the numbers of the GPA and the MCAT kind of help you get your foot in the door, but the substance behind the person and their motivation toward medicine is what gets you through the interview.
And many other things that are reflected in the application, including community-related experiences, non-health-related experiences. I think it's important that every applicant pay very close attention to the detail of what's being asked of them in the application, because there are a lot of opportunities here to express themselves, himself or herself as to who they are and why they want to do this. Mm-hmm. And obviously there are other components of the application that provide information to admissions offices. And here I'm talking in general, not only for Paul F. Foster School of Medicine, but I think it's important for the applicant to make sure that they put together a really strong application, including assuring that everything is being integrated into what becomes the complete application, to include letters of recommendation and everything else that's required.
Definitely. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. I'm sure a lot of applicants are looking for kind of trying to find the one thing that'll make them stand out, but I'm glad that you emphasize the fact that holistic review is something that is very much being used by the Foster School of Medicine Admissions Committee, and how important it is for applicants to look at their entire application and pay close attention to that.
Absolutely. Admissions committees are very interested in every aspect related to the application.
Right. Okay, well, on to our final question for you, and this is kind of our fun one. I'm sure you've heard a lot of myths that students come up with, so we'd like to allow you to tackle a common question that you hear and offer all of our applicants the correct advice. So if you don't mind sharing with us a common myth that you'd like to bust.
Well, sure. I think a common myth or preconception, let me put it that way, is that in order to get to medical school, one must be a science major. And so I hear that come up in various locations. I must say that I can only answer for my school, but I think it's not only the Paul L. Foster School of Medicine. There are many other schools that will not very specifically look at someone who has a science major. Obviously, that said, the applicant must complete all pre-med requirements for that particular school. But at least for Paul F. Foster School of Medicine, we look at many individuals who are science majors, and indeed the majority of are science majors, biology majors, but there are many individuals who complete their pre-med requirements. They get that done and get it done well, and then pursue other areas of interest for their major. And so we get applicants who have majors in history or political science or music, philosophy, and that's really interesting to see. And in a way, it distinguishes that particular applicant. Again, that said, we also highly value the science major and accomplishments by the science major in getting to achieve all the requirements of whatever particular degree they hold in a science area. But also, we know that if you're going to a liberal arts and science college or university, there are opportunities there to learn about the world and life, and so everything becomes an opportunity to broaden one's background and to become well-rounded. So we're interested in that, and that becomes a part of the application. So no distinction here in getting a science major or not being a science major. If one wants to pursue another major, well, that's just fine. And as long as the pre-med requirements are fulfilled, and they're fulfilled well. And so we're also interested in seeing how, while our classes are diverse and people come from many backgrounds, we also have a number of people who are coming in with second careers. So we have had a number of people who have joined over the years and become part of the first-year entering classes, who come from a professional background that involves being lawyers, engineers, teachers. We have had a number of students who have come back after service in the military, coming back after serving in various situations. We've also had a number of students who have been nurses,
right,
and many other professionals, other backgrounds. So while these are considered to be like non-traditional applicants, they bring background and they bring experiences that actually enhance the chemistry and mix of the entering class, where the majority are traditional applicants coming out of medical school or coming out of college within pre-med and then going on to medical school. So I think it's an opportunity for people to realize that while one is in college, one is at the university, or one is in another profession, when one gets the call and sees the opportunity to pursue now a goal to become a physician, there's a way to do that, and that's to accomplish well all pre-med requirements and to do it well in order to become a competitive applicant, not only for our school, but for all schools that they may be interested in applying to.
100%. Thank you very much for sharing that. All right, Dr. Schydlower, before we let you go, is there any advice you'd like to offer applicants?
Is to be attentive.
Mm-hmm.
What I would say is to be attentive to the detail of the application, both the primary and the secondary. The information that comes through is really important for admissions offices, not only in our school, but in all medical schools where the applicant is applying. And that will serve, I think, the applicant well to be as detailed and responsive to what's being asked in those applications.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Dr. Schydlower, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Enrique, it's been a pleasure, and good luck to everyone.
Make sure you subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you listen to podcasts to stay up to date with us. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/TMDSAS and at Twitter at TMDSAS and at TMDSAS Support. On behalf of TMDSAS, we want to wish all our applicants for the 2018 cycle all the best of luck. Thank you very much for listening. We'll talk to you later.